The Kansas City Chiefs face an unprecedented scenario, envisioning their future without Patrick Mahomes. His presence has defined an era of dominance, with 6 consecutive AFC Championship appearances and a Super Bowl victory. Imagining a Mahomes-less Chiefs challenges both analysts and fans, as quarterback leadership drives every strategic and tactical decision. Without his elite arm, vision, and mobility, the team's offensive schemes would need to be fundamentally restructured. The question extends beyond play calling. It touches organizational identity, fan perception, and long-term competitive strategy. Chiefs management would need to evaluate quarterback succession planning, draft priorities, and free agent acquisitions, while considering how to maintain morale and continuity. Mahomes' influence extends to leadership in the locker room, mentoring, and shaping team culture. Removing this cornerstone alters offensive efficiency, defensive coordination, and special team support. Understanding the potential implications requires examining both immediate tactical adjustments and broader organizational strategies. This hypothetical scenario illuminates the delicate balance between individual brilliance and systemic stability in professional football. Without Mahomes, the Chiefs would face significant offensive challenges. Quarterback proficiency directly influences timing, rhythm, and decision-making across all skill positions. Receivers rely on anticipation of Mahomes' release speed and accuracy, while running backs exploit defensive adjustments he commands. A replacement quarterback, regardless of talent, would require adaptation to existing schemes, potentially reducing efficiency. Play calling would need simplification to accommodate differences in mobility, arm strength, and field vision. The offensive line's dynamics would shift, as protection schemes are optimized for Mahomes' tendencies. Red zone execution may suffer without his improvisational ability, potentially decreasing scoring opportunities. Coaching staff would need to reevaluate tempo, shot selection, and situational aggressiveness, balancing risk and control. Opponents would adjust defensive strategies, exploiting areas previously masked by Mahomes' versatility. Analysts note that even minor disruptions in quarterback performance can cascade, affecting conversions, turnovers, and clock management. The Chiefs' identity, long intertwined with Mahomes' skills, would require significant reconstruction to maintain competitiveness against elite AFC opponents. The absence of Mahomes also reshapes defensive strategy. With less offensive pressure, opposing teams can emphasize aggressive defensive fronts, blitz packages, and complex coverage schemes. Turnovers and quick 3-and-outs would become more likely, increasing defensive time on the field. Fatigue, coverage breakdowns, and pressure accumulation could reduce overall efficiency and heighten injury risk. Chiefs defensive coordinators would need to adapt, emphasizing containment, situational awareness, and stamina management. Linebackers and secondary players may face extended sequences against ball control offenses, altering positioning, rotation, and communication. The interplay between offense and defense becomes more pronounced, as offensive struggles directly affect defensive leverage. Leadership on the field, typically buoyed by Mahomes' presence, would require reinforcement from defensive veterans. Adjustments in tempo, play calling, and coverage rotation become essential to compensate for diminished offensive dominance. Analysts stress that elite defenses rely on complementary offensive efficiency. Without Mahomes, maintaining balance would become a strategic imperative. Redefining the Chiefs' overall approach to game management and playoff competitiveness. Planning for a Mahomes-less Chiefs requires immediate quarterback succession analysis. Management must evaluate internal talent, including backups or draft prospects capable of handling high-pressure scenarios. External acquisitions may be considered to ensure stability and continuity in offensive schemes. Succession planning balances immediate competitiveness with long-term development, weighing experience against potential. Coaching staff must tailor systems to the new quarterback strengths, adjusting timing, route combinations, and protection schemes. Leadership development becomes critical, as the replacement must earn locker room confidence while maintaining cohesion. Analysts note that integrating a new quarterback involves both technical and psychological adjustments, impacting performance metrics and team morale. Strategic considerations include financial investment, roster flexibility, and draft capital allocation. Ensuring continuity while managing expectations requires clear communication, coaching, adaptation, and disciplined development pathways. The Chiefs' future without Mahomes depends on careful succession planning, emphasizing preparation, skill development, and organizational foresight to sustain competitive advantage. Mahomes' absence would profoundly affect team culture and leadership. His influence extends beyond gameplay, shaping locker room morale, accountability, and collective identity. Leadership voids may emerge, necessitating veteran players to step forward and maintain cohesion. Mentorship, communication, and team accountability must be reinforced to sustain focus during high-pressure contests. Chiefs management would need to implement deliberate cultural strategies, emphasizing resilience, professionalism, and unity. Psychological preparedness becomes essential as players adapt to shifts in leadership and expectations. Analysts observe that elite teams rely on influential figures to reinforce shared values, ensuring discipline and motivation. Re-establishing leadership structures while preserving performance standards require strategic communication and consistent reinforcement. Maintaining cultural continuity mitigates potential disruptions from high-profile departures. Chiefs' trajectory hinges not only on technical adjustments, but also on sustaining identity, cohesion, and motivation across all levels of the organization. Understanding these dynamics illustrates that leadership impact is as critical as tactical execution in championship-level football. The prospect of a Mahomes-less Chiefs would generate intense fan and media scrutiny. National coverage would focus on offensive restructuring, succession planning, and playoff viability. Fans' expectations, historically tied to Mahomes' brilliance, would shift, influencing attendance, engagement, and public perception. Social media narratives could amplify pressure, framing performance against prior standards and elite AFC competition. Analysts would project game outcomes based on quarterback adaptation, offensive efficiency, and defensive resilience. Sponsorships, endorsements, and market perception may also be influenced by perceived competitive decline. Chiefs management would need to manage messaging, maintain transparency, and mitigate misinformation to preserve brand integrity. Effective communication reinforces fan trust and organizational credibility while supporting internal morale. Understanding public and media dynamics underscores the intersection of perception, pressure, and performance in professional sports. Sustaining engagement requires strategic transparency, reassurance, and consistent demonstration of competitive commitment despite high-profile changes in team structure. Adjusting to life without Mahomes would reshape Chiefs' draft and free agency priorities. Offensive line reinforcements, quarterback depth, and complementary skill positions would gain strategic importance. Teams must balance immediate competitive needs with long-term development, optimizing investment for talent retention and acquisition. Free agency decisions may target experienced quarterbacks, versatile offensive weapons, or supporting defensive players to offset offensive transitions. Analysts note that draft capital would be evaluated for potential starters and future replacements. Strategic roster planning becomes a multi-layered exercise, emphasizing flexibility, contingency, and talent alignment with adjusted schemes. Salary cap management must accommodate critical acquisitions without compromising long-term viability. Coaching and management collaboration ensures draft and acquisition decisions reflect both immediate tactical adjustments and future organizational vision. The Chiefs' ability to navigate this process will directly influence competitiveness, cohesion, and strategic positioning in a post-Mahomes era. Without Mahomes, the Chiefs' playoff trajectory faces significant uncertainty. Quarterback proficiency underpins situational execution, red zone efficiency, and scoring consistency, all critical in high-stakes contests. Analysts predict increased defensive pressure from opponents, requiring both tactical adjustments and mental resilience. Offensive predictability may rise, allowing defenses to exploit weaknesses. Playoff success relies on integrating replacement quarterback strengths while maintaining offensive balance. Coaching strategy would emphasize clock management, controlled aggression, and risk mitigation. Defensive performance and special teams execution gain heightened importance, compensating for potential offensive limitations. Maintaining competitiveness requires alignment between talent, strategy, and preparation. Analysts stress that even small reductions in quarterback effectiveness can magnify during postseason play. Chiefs' ability to adapt schemes, manage pressure, and sustain morale will determine outcomes in a competitive AFC landscape. Preparing for this scenario demands both tactical creativity and disciplined execution. The Chiefs' response to a Mahomes-less future reflects broader organizational strategy. Management must evaluate talent pipelines, succession planning, and coaching flexibility. Operational decisions integrate financial management, roster, construction, and cultural preservation. Strategic foresight emphasizes resilience, adaptability, and sustained competitiveness. Analysts note that elite franchises anticipate contingencies, ensuring both immediate performance and long-term viability. Leadership, mentorship, and institutional knowledge become critical components in mitigating potential disruptions. Planning extends to draft prioritization, free agency targeting, and internal development programs. Organizational alignment reinforces coaching vision, player accountability, and cultural consistency. Chiefs' trajectory depends on integrating tactical adjustments with strategic foresight, balancing short-term objectives with long-term sustainability. Evaluating these elements illustrates how professional sports teams navigate high-stakes transitions. Preparing for post-Mahomes realities highlights the interplay between leadership, planning, and talent management, ensuring that organizational excellence endures despite foundational changes. Imagining the Chiefs without Mahomes forces a reevaluation of the team's dominance and legacy. While talent, coaching, and culture remain pillars, quarterback leadership has been the defining factor in sustained success. The team must navigate leadership vacuums, offensive restructuring, and fan expectations while maintaining competitiveness. Succession planning, draft strategy, and player development become paramount. Organizational resilience and adaptability will define whether the Chiefs remain contenders or enter a rebuilding phase. Analysts emphasize that Mahomes' influence extends beyond statistics to leadership, culture, and identity. The potential scenario underscores the delicate balance between individual brilliance and systemic stability in professional football. Success post-Mahomes will hinge on strategic foresight, coaching, flexibility, and cultural continuity. The Chiefs' trajectory, while uncertain, demonstrates the challenges elite franchises face when foundational pillars shift. Ultimately, this scenario reveals how one player can shape not only outcomes, but the entire framework of a team's competitive legacy.